welcome back to season 2 of Dad and Me. My name is Kaylee Gray, and I'm here with my dad, Pastor Brad.
How's everybody doing today?
I am so excited. We took the summer off, and so
Without pay.
that's true. Without pay, but we are back for season 2, and I'm so excited. This was so fun. I've gotten lots of good feedback from the first season from people, so that's kind of why we decided to do season 2.
Yep.
We were kind of unsure this summer, and then the Lord kind of spoke to us, gave us an idea of what we were going to talk about, and so this season we're really going to focus on leadership, which that is something we're both very passionate about, as well as you, Dad, have always taught me lots of like leadership qualities and things like that. You've put me in leadership at a young age. I don't know if it's just because I was a firstborn or what, but
Anyway, we didn't have anybody else. No, I'm just kidding. No,
thanks.
no, you're the oldest. You're the
No,
you're
but
the leader. Yep.
but I think it's so good, and we're gonna kind of expound because I think some people don't think of themselves as leaders and just
yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah. And so I think we just, you need more characteristics of leadership across the board. And so it's stuff we've learned over the years, stuff we've experienced. And so we're just kind of excited to share it with you guys, and hopefully it sparks some training and just
Good
leadership
thoughts.
tips. Yeah.
Leadership thoughts. Yep.
Yeah, I love it. So, but first, Dad, how was your summer?
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too short.
It was really short this year. I was like,
They get shorter and shorter every year.
yeah. And also, this is September, which is a really big month for you. It's
Oh,
your
yeah.
birthday.
Yep.
So, my dad is 65 this year. So, it's a big one.
Yeah.
It's a special one. So, super excited to get to be here filming with him. Actually, this morning he woke me up at 4:45. So, why did you wake up at 4:45 today, Dad?
Well, that's the time I make my smoothie. I was up since 2:30, so I figured I waited a while, But I
Which
want
I-
to get my day started. I go out to the church early and pray in the sanctuary, so
Yeah.
I just kind of go get started early, and that way I can get my first nap underway a little earlier too. So
To say we've both been up early today is an understatement. So I love naps. I probably get that from you.
Yeah.
Anyways, summer was great for me. Like I said, it went fast. I got to take a couple little short trips. I didn't really do like a big trip or anything this summer. Mainly it was just focusing on the relaunch of my second children's book and just kind of prepping and doing stuff for the third one. So it's just
You've been busy.
been busy, but it's been good. So getting some family time. But
Amen.
all right, Dad, let's what is today's topic about?
It's going to be self-leadership, talking about how to lead ourselves, and
Yeah.
if we can't lead ourselves, it's hard to lead others. So we're
Yeah.
gonna look at some ideas on that a little bit. Just kind of, I taught a class this summer with adults
Yeah.
on leadership and went off it from different angles and stuff. So yeah.
I love it. All right, well, let's just dig on into
Alrighty.
self-leadership. So a verse that you kind of have taught on with self-leadership is Hebrews 13, verse 7. And it says, remember those who lead you, who spoke the word of God to you, and considering the result of their conduct, imitate their faith.
Amen. That's a good passage, isn't it?
It is really good.
Talks about how we imitate those around us, and whether we like it or not, we're all influencing and we're being influenced by others. So it's better to have godly leadership than the other kind of leadership. And we're going to go into that a little bit more here. But
Yeah.
I was just curious, what does leadership mean to you when you think about leadership? That's where some people get kind of,
Yeah.
they think the guy on TV or somebody up front all the time. But there's a lot of different kinds of leadership.
Yeah, I think definitely with leadership, you are influencing. You are like people are following you
Yeah.
when you're in leadership.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah.
John Maxwell said leadership is influence. And,
Mm.
my leadership studies have taken me through a lot of different guys, Maxwell, Craig Rochelle, different ones. So over the years, I've just been keep putting in,
Yeah.
and then it comes out. And that's the
Mhm.
way it is for each and every one of us. You just keep putting in, some of these things, and they may not show up immediately,
Mhm.
but then little by little, the process of change
Yeah.
takes part inside of you. And then all of a sudden it starts to come out in the world, in the real world.
Yeah.
And you just go, wow, that's amazing. That's what God is doing in my life. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, amen.
No, that's
So,
so good.
influence is really the capacity to have an effect on the character development or behavior of someone else. And you think about that with your kids, you're influencing them. You're
Mm-hmm.
hopefully their character development is, paying off, and you want to be a good example to them, and you want them to turn out right, and
Yeah.
their little eyes are watching, as well
Mm-hmm.
as other places in our life, at work and in our friendships, and
Oh, yeah.
it's just amazing just how we rub off on each other.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
because I mean, there's the saying that you are is it the two people that you
I
hang
think it's
around?
five,
Five
but
people that you hang around.
so
And
I'm still waiting to find one more person. I only got four in my life. I'm still looking for that fifth
for that
person.
fifth
So
person.
if you're out there, you're number five, let me know. No, just
Oh, but yeah, no, so it is true because I think about that, like the people that I'm around, I either dream more with dreamers,
right.
or if I'm around more negative people, I have like more of like a negative
Yeah.
energy and personality. And sometimes I'm like, man, like why am I like that? I'm normally like a pretty positive person. Like
Yeah.
why am I being negative? And it resulted in I was hanging around a lot more negative people, and I
Get
kind
kind
of
of nitpicky a little bit
yes.
about everything.
And
Yeah.
so I kind of reevaluated and I kind of like pulled back a little bit from
Yeah.
those
Not have to.
relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For your own health,
Yes.
emotional health and everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem is, I think most people don't really consider themselves a leader for whatever reason, but
Mm-hmm.
they just maybe sell themselves short,
Yeah.
or they just, like you say, you have
Be-
the wrong idea of what
I
it
feel
is.
like the word leadership, it's kind of intimidating.
Yeah.
Like when you hear the word leadership, and usually when you are a leader, it comes with more responsibility.
Yes.
And so I think sometimes people are like, A, I don't want that responsibility, or two, they don't think they're qualified for it.
Yeah. That's
And
a fact.
yeah.
That's, you think of maybe the head football coach or
Mm-hmm.
somebody like that, or
Yeah.
maybe the pastor or whatever, you're thrown into leadership. And,
Mm-hmm.
but just because somebody, I guess, is in a position, what we call, there's a difference between positional leadership and servant leadership, which we're going to go into probably later in the series. But the idea, just because somebody has a title doesn't mean that that's the person that everybody's really wanting to follow.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be the person that has a title to be a leader.
Oh, that's good.
It's the one that really has the ear of the people, influence,
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to be an Absalom, which, where you steal the people's hearts. That's not what I'm saying. But I mean, if you're looking to make people better, I mean, God's going to use you in a mighty way, and you just be ready for that. So,
No, that's really good.
yeah.
I love that. So what about like the difference you were talking about, like kind of worldly influence and like servant leadership? So what is the difference between those?
Yeah. We have a culture probably filled with influencers now because of the invention of the smartphone, and
Mm-hmm.
anybody can do stuff online and around the world. I mean,
Yeah.
you're going all over the world, and a lot of times people want to be influencers. Why? Is because they want likes.
Mm-hmm.
So they're willing to do almost anything to get them likes, because that likes shows that you're popular,
Yeah.
or that you're really making a mark. And that can be good in some ways, but it depends if you use your powers for good or you use your powers for evil,
Yeah.
because not all the influencers on the internet is worth following.
Very true.
They may have a lot of followers, but they're not worth following, because their approach to it, the carnality of everything that they're doing, it's more selfish. It's about me, me, me. And that's kind of dangerous, because it needs to be about we.
Yeah.
And that's what servant leadership is. It's, when people put others first, have godly influence, and they don't draw attention to self, but they draw attention to the Lord. And that's really what I think is the best kind of leadership. And you think about the other person, and what all that entails, and how to make them better. So
Yeah, no, that's good. Saying we always did in when I was over the young adults ministry and their volunteers, we would say we are there you are leaders, not here I am. So we were always like looking to the other
Right.
person. We weren't looking to
Amen.
ourselves.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Okay, so like leaders, do you think like can you be are you just like naturally born a leader, or is like, can you like grow into being a leader? Because I feel like a lot of firstborns have natural leadership tendencies, and I think it's just because of their birthright of like when they were like born, like birth order.
For the bossiness. Sometimes they're bossy, ain't they?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
And so, why are you saying I'm bossy?
No, I'm just saying.
You were firstborn.
I was firstborn
I
too,
know.
yeah,
So I was like, what are you saying? That's probably not the best ever. We
Yeah.
have two firstborns here. But that's a thing I think a lot of people like struggle with. They're like, okay, well, I wasn't born a leader, so like, can I even be a leader?
Technically, we're both.
Okay.
Because we're all born. God has a plan for our life, and God has something from the foundation of the earth, a plan for our life, and we're all leaders in some way, shape, or form. But I think we probably equate somebody with a very charismatic personality, or the kind of person that people like to listen to and to follow. You just want to be around them.
Yeah.
So that person we would probably consider to be a born leader. But there's also the idea of being able to grow in your leadership. And that's what we need to understand. And the idea of how we can always make ourselves better.
Yeah.
In whatever we're doing, there's always room to grow. And we need to see that there's things that we can do through mentoring. Allow yourself to have somebody that's a little farther along in their journey speak into your life and giving you some, maybe the cheat code or whatever. It's kind of, everybody should understand what that is. It's kind of a shortcut. It's a way to, be able to learn some things quickly. I mean, you're still going to have to prove them in your own life because they're not going to work for you immediately. You're going to have to work on them. But then, the idea of self-study, and we've always said, that you're one of the greatest investments that you're ever going to have an opportunity to do is to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, buying some good books on certain subjects that you maybe feel a little deficient in, and to be able to help yourself grow and doing that, and, just being around other leaders and learning from them. I mean, there's so much you can learn.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I've been a leader for a long time, but probably not until my late 50s did I really start to see some things really start to materialize in my life. Maybe I just got clarity. Maybe I'm a slow learner. I really don't know, but some things started, all that input that I'd been doing for so many years, it just started to click.
Yeah.
And I started to understand, some of the concepts and how they work. And, and that's really helped me in a lot of ways,
No, that's good. And I love how you said like finding the books and like different things like that, because I know I've been guilty of, I'm like, well, I don't want to spend $20 like on a book, and stuff like that. Like, is it even worth it? But just like valuing yourself and like knowing that you are worth the investment to learn more.
Yes.
Because I mean, there are free resources out there. There's podcasts.
Oh yeah,
there's
a lot of stuff,
there's so much stuff that even if you're listening to this right now, of course this is free.
Yeah.
But I think too, just being able to like know that you're worth it, because I mean, it's so easy for us to like go through the drive-through and buy something, or you go buy like a coffee and stuff like that. Like if you're spending $5 a week like going through the coffee shop, I mean, that right there is $20 in the month. So if you just like cut one of those times of like not going to get a coffee, you could buy a book on leadership. Because I think too, you were kind of like talking about like the leadership and things like that. Now, I feel like at a young age, and maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong, like I was a leader. I think I was put in like leadership positions, but there's like leading, but then there's also like kind of like supervising where you have like more people. And I don't know if we're going to talk about that later, but I just like, when you were talking, I like kind of just thought about that. I was like, man, like I remember, at a young age, like teaching, like I think I was 12 years old and I was like teaching some of like the younger kids in class, and so that would be technically called a leadership position. And so I don't know if I would have called myself a leader, but I was maybe in a leadership position.
Yes.
And so I think, like you said, like over the years, I've volunteered or like done different things. And then living in Tulsa, I had like I was like volunteering, and then I got put in a leadership position to where I was over all of the volunteers. So I was like leading teams and, just different things like that. So we were, another guy and I, we had to co-lead together, and we were in charge of like over 100 people, you know what I mean? And like trying to lead them and build the culture and everything
Yes.
around. And so I think a lot of that, like, I had been leading since I was 12 years old, but I felt like I wasn't like truly a leader until like probably like maybe like 15 years
Yeah.
later.
Because you start to realize it and you start to see things. And then
Mhm.
um, just the idea of course, a young person at 12 years old, it is hard when you're dealing with adults too and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So, but yeah, there's just a lot of different things. And you said a good word there, and that's the word volunteer.
Mm.
Um, Volunteering puts you in a position for God to use you.
Yeah.
And it may not see the results immediately, but all that things that you're doing, you're learning as you go.
Mhm.
And I know at your church down there in Tulsa, you guys do little teachings, little tidbits, right? When you
Mhm.
met with the leaders, so you kind of glean a few things. It's about being hospitable, be a people person. I mean, we're
Mhm.
going to go into that in a future session, but you know, people is the difference, and we're going to look at that right now. The difference between a leader and a manager,
Mm.
because I think we get those two things confused a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I used to work construction, and every now and then, you'd when I was with a bigger company, I mean, we would rotate, maybe being the foreman on a job. Well, now all of a sudden, now you're in boss of all your friends or people you work with.
Mm.
So that can really bring out the control freak in people.
Yeah.
When you give them a title or put them
Yeah.
in a position of authority, and
You got a
really,
power trip a little
oh
bit.
yeah, it
Like when
is,
you,
yeah,
especially when you get promoted before your friends, you're like, oh, look, they noticed me.
yeah, yeah.
And I probably had a little bit of that too when I was 12 years old. I was
Oh,
like, oh,
probably a
look,
little bit.
I'm a leader.
What's under the blood?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But authority can create monsters.
I believe that 100%.
Yeah. So need to be careful of that. So the difference between this is a big major thing with me as a pastor. I want leaders. I don't want managers
Mhm.
in the church
Yeah.
because we we bring that worldly concept. Now managers are good. Don't get me wrong. We need managers to do certain things, but if a manager pivots their thinking over into I'm a leader, not just a manager, then it's really going to help them. I'm going to explain this a little bit. See, a manager is using people to accomplish tasks or it's delegating. So, really, a manager, usually like in a factory setting, construction setting, all these things, they're trying to use people to get a task done because they have a deadline, shall
Mhm.
we say. And we all have deadlines. But then the difference between that, then is a leader's mentality is not to use people to get things done, but to build people to get things done. So they're trying to make other leaders out of people.
Yeah.
And instead of delegating tasks, they're empowering people. They're making people better. And that's kind of
Mhm.
the main difference. And, in every organization, you struggle with that, even at home. We delegate tasks, let's say with your children, and you tell them what to do. But if they don't understand maybe sometimes why we do it, they're not going to really show initiative and do it on their own.
Yeah.
And so that's why we need to try to, take some time to do that. So we want to make people better, and that's the difference in the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that is so true because I can think of managers I've had over the years, and I can tell the difference of the ones that like pour into me and
Yes.
like want me to be better and do better at my job and can even like excel in certain areas, to where other ones they're just like giving the task, they just want it done. Sometimes they are just like on you all the time. Did you do this, do this, do this? And
And they're kind of threatened in their position sometimes. Is
mhm.
why they keep people
Yeah.
not that way. I have a saying here at the church: don't take control, but take responsibility.
Mm.
When I put somebody in the church in a leadership position, I really try to ingrain into them the idea of team concept.
Yeah.
because if we don't, uh, it gets real ugly. It can.
Mhm.
It can get territorial, and things can happen, and then things are said, stuff like this,
Yeah.
and just a misunderstanding. So we're trying to build teams, and though, so with that, you're trying to make everybody better. When everybody is operating at their best, I tell them when we get better, the church gets better.
Yeah.
Just as simple as that. And so we need to do that. We need to be responsible, but not territorial in the sense we want to make other people better so that they can rise up and be leaders themselves.
No, that's really good. I like that. All right. Well, what else do you have for us? I feel like this has been, really good.
Well, another thing we have to do as a leader is that we need to keep learning.
Mm,
Once you get to the top of the pile, shall we say, a lot of people just quit.
yeah.
They just, have a misunderstanding what it's all about. Hey, I've arrived, I'm here now. But no,
Mhm.
the idea is that we always need to keep learning. There's always something that we can work on and work on some of our deficiencies, as well as strengthen some of the things that we're already good at and just get better at them.
Mhm.
You're never going to be perfect, but you can operate in excellence. And we're going to go into that too. There's a difference because some people just waste their time trying to be perfect all the time.
Mhm.
And you're never going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect all the time. Sometimes you just have to operate. I'm going to do the best I can,
Mhm.
walk away,
Yeah.
and just be done with it. And so the reason why we as a leadership tribe or people need to keep learning is because the climate or the culture climate that we live in is always changing. Things are different now
Oh.
than they used to be 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And leading people now is so different than it used to be a long time ago.
Mhm.
When I first was young and somebody was a leader, you just didn't backtalk. You just took it, you just went for it.
There's a form of respect. There was
Yeah.
more form of
Yeah.
respect.
There was nothing to say that you could speak your, just different things. Of course, you want a climate where people can talk, but I'm just
Mhm.
saying the idea of respect used to be stronger, and we
Mhm.
don't have that respect in our culture today
Mhm.
because there's so many things out there you can grab a hold of that, now, a leader really has to earn the respect and
Mhm.
of their people, the people that's following. So,
Yeah.
and hopefully, the reason why we need to keep learning is because we're teaching our other people, the people under us that we're responsible for, and they're going to keep growing. And if we don't keep growing, because you're never going to take anybody as far as you've already been.
Mm.
If you're only been this far, this high, maybe a number 6 on a scale, you'll never take anybody that's under you to a 7
Mm.
because you just can't get them there. Now God can. I know there's workarounds, but
Yeah.
the idea of so we want to continually be learning and pouring our lives into these people, and then it's just simple as this. Just like anything, is only as strong as its weakest link.
Yeah.
If you're on a team, the weakest player is going to cost you a game.
Mm.
That's just the way it is. Because they're not trained, because they're maybe just not good enough, whatever the case may be, that weakest link is going to cost you.
Yeah.
But if you pour into these people and help them to be better, it's going to make everybody else better.
Mhm.
And that's what we need to see. People are not a threat
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah.
People are an asset in our life, and we need to understand that. And that's where it comes back to self-leadership. It starts at home.
Mhm.
It's hard to lead others if we can't lead ourselves. And that's kind of
Mhm.
what we wanted to talk about today a little bit, that, people's only going to follow you if they respect you and they watch your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And your lifestyle lines up with what you're telling. When I was a kid, uh, there was a saying, maybe parents still use it today. I probably use it on you guys, is do as I say, not as I do.
Mhm. You do
And
use that one.
yeah, did I once or twice? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But, you know, the idea of that is the fact that if we want people to follow, I mean, I didn't listen to my parents because of that. I followed what they did
Mhm.
instead of what they said a lot of times.
Yeah.
So visual, you know, being a model, modeling these things to people.
Mhm. Our actions speak louder
Yeah,
than
they
words.
do. They make a connect in our brain somehow. It's just
Mhm.
amazing. So,
Yeah.
we just need to be a leader worth following, and not to put pressure on you that because you don't. A lot of people wait till they get perfect before they do anything. And some people say, "Well, when I quit this or quit that, I'm going to come to God." Well,
Yeah.
if you'd have done that, you'd have been there a long time ago. I mean, no, just come as you are, and allow God to start to change you.
Yeah, no.
Amen.
No, that's really good. And I think something you thought of too is like in this whole self leadership, like if you don't think of yourself as a leader, like at some point in life, more than likely you are going to be a parent.
Yeah.
And if you're not already, and you are leading your family. And I think of like things that you have taught us or like just how to do things. And when you are a leader, sometimes you do have those control moments of like, it's just easier if I do it.
Yeah.
And instead of like showing somebody else how to do it, because sometimes like when you're the leader, you can't always do everything. You have to relinquish some of those tasks. And so it takes time to teach the person. And while you're teaching that person, they might not do it just like you, or they might not do it the best, but over time it does
Yes.
get better. But it's just like a little kid when they're wanting to help you do something, it takes like twice as long. But in the grand scheme of things, over the years, they're going to be able to do it on
Yes.
their own.
And that'll save you time.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate they grow out of that attitude of what to do everything, because after they get to teenager, I don't want to do that no more.
No, that's so true. All right. Well, let's kind of like wrap up our self-leadership talk. Like how do we want to end this today?
Well, I guess some ways that we can practice it.
Okay, let's
Some
do it.
practical things. I mean, do you have any in your mind? Or?
For self-leadership? I mean, I think definitely like investing into yourself. And that is something that I've really been convicted over the years of, just really making sure, and you're really good about that. Like if you'll read a book, you're like, hey, you need to read this book. So you've always been like really good about, teaching me to have self-leadership. And I think having a mentor, like finding somebody who is ahead of you, whether it's a spiritual mentor, it's a career mentor, all the different, like there's different areas of your life that you can grow in different areas of leadership. And I think finding somebody who is ahead of you that has been there and you can just glean some knowledge from. And because you can literally surpass your mentor.
Yes.
And that mentor might not be your mentor forever. It might just be your mentor for a season. But to get all of the wealth and knowledge that they have, that they can bring to you to help you, and then, you can move on. You're going to be maybe mentoring other people. You'll find another mentor. And so those are a couple practical things that I know for self-leadership have really helped me.
Amen.
What about you?
One I see is be on time.
Oh,
Just practical, because, if you're in leadership and you tell everybody else to be there at 9:00 and you come in at 9:10,
do as I say, not as I
yes,
do.
that
Yeah.
undercuts
Yeah.
your leadership to them. And,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to keep a confidence. If
Yeah.
somebody tells you something in private and it's just between you and them, then
Mm-hmm.
if you blab that out, well, then you've lost some respect
Yes.
of that person.
Yeah.
And, another thing is to put the team ahead of self,
Yeah.
because if we always have to be the center, excuse me, the center of attention, well, people's going to get tired of that.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to share the wealth a little bit, shall we say, and,
Mm-hmm.
Put the team first and
Yeah.
help them to develop. So,
Yeah.
And another one I really believe in is how to develop successful systems in your life,
Mm-hmm.
because systems make you successful,
Yes. Yeah.
Instead of having to reinvent the wheel all the time. And whatever your system is, every family has a system. You may think, well, I don't have any systems. Well, every family has a system already established. The question is, does that system work very well?
Yeah.
I've always made fun, and we've talked about this on the podcast. Like, one of my practical systems is I never put my keys in different places. I put my keys on the same spot on my dresser.
Yeah.
Why? Because I never have to look for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't waste time looking for them. And there's other things, you can do just to where you put things. It's time-saving things, and, paying your bills on time, doing all these things. So those things always help. And then I think lastly, if you're going to be a leader, you have to be able to keep your emotions in check.
Mm.
Because if you lead by your emotions, it's all good when you're happy. But let's say you're having a bad day
Yeah.
and you're taking it out on people around you.
Yeah.
So you have to keep them emotions in check. So
No, that is so true because you do when you are in leadership, if different like something personally is affecting you, you can't take it out on the people around you.
no.
And so, yeah, that's really good. So, I loved it. I self leadership. It's definitely probably one of the most important things that
Yeah.
in leadership is your self leadership.
And we see a lot of people failing.
Mm-hmm.
Big leaders have failed, and part of it traces back to their own self leadership.
Yeah.
They maybe excuse me, maybe integrity
Mm.
wasn't on the front of their list,
Yeah.
and so they made a little shortcut or made a compromise, and then it come back to bite them.
Yeah.
And so you want to try to keep all your ducks in a row and keep your integrity in check, because that's a currency,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's really can buy you a lot of things. Your
Yeah.
integrity,
No,
when it
that
comes
is
to
true.
people following you.
No, that is really true. Mm.
Amen.
Well, this was so good. I'm super excited for this series. So be sure to subscribe and follow along as we continue this leadership series. We will be posting every first Wednesday. And so we will see you guys next time.
God bless. Have a great day.
Bye.